Modern landfills are really a fairly high-tech operation. Old dumps that some of us grew up with were pretty low-tech technologies. They were holes in the ground that we put our waste materials, our refuse, our trash, and just filled up the hole and went away.
So back in the late 70s, early 80s, the Resource Conservation Recovery Act passed through Congress in direct response to the Love Canal disaster.
But there again, it's regulated, and we adhere to the regulations, and we feel like we have a safe operation here.
In the old days, back when I was relatively a bit younger, landfills or where garbage pits, dumps, basically were open gravel pits or just a ravine or any inconvenient or any convenient cheap place to stash it. What that did is it allowed any contamination by just the groundwater or rain coming across it, any contamination to go right on out into the aquifers and our drinking water and wells and so forth.
This is our grit removal unit. Now, this removes all the smaller particles. You have your sand and your gravel, rice, corn, vitamins, undigested, things that get through the screens down there. This will remove a lot of the smaller particles, a lot of the inorganic. Yeah, they come over and they pick up the roll-off that contains all these removals and bury it in the landfill.
A few years ago, a few of my colleagues and I actually did a study in collaboration with the city of the solid waste issues and the solid waste stream here in Denton. And surprisingly, it surprised me actually some of the results. I thought that most of the trash came from residences, from households like mine. But it turns out that about 70% of the waste material in Denton comes from businesses and institutions like North Texas and TWU. And so we have an unusual mix of materials in Denton, a little different than some other cities.
Where the municipal landfill will have a 3-foot clay lined bottom and packed down to a specific density and before you put trash on it. And that's not only on the bottom but on the sides, and when you're full on top, another 3-foot cap over the entire thing before you put your topsoil and grass. That was a giant leap forward for how we can protect our groundwater.
These are our aeration basins. And I guess I ought to back up by saying this is a activated, or a conventional activated sludge treatment plant. And this process here would be the heart of your activated sludge treatment. And what you have here is the effluent from your primary clarifiers entered the aeration basin and is mixed with the sludge from your final clarifiers. And you see the two colors of water right here, the grayish water being your primary effluent and the brown being your final clarifier sludge. We try to keep a balance of food, bacteria, and oxygen. So right here we want to put them into a feeding frenzy. I've been told, you have so much air diffused in here. If you fell in this water, you'd go straight to the bottom because there's probably more air than there is water. There's no buoyancy in it. So it's, you want to be sure you don't fall in.
I don't
want to fall in, yeah.
Denton has taken some steps towards a recycling program. For example, we do have drop-off sites here in Denton where citizens can take some of their recyclable material and put them in boxes. That is then taken by the city, put with other materials from other collection sites, and then sold to some supplier who goes into the recycle stream. That's only partially successful. Denton does not have a residential recycling program, a curbside program. And partly the reason for that is the nature of where our waste comes from in Denton.
Buying recycled. I think that's the key to getting the entire recycling market cranked up. Everybody wants to recycle. I think it's great. But if you don't buy recycled, you're not creating a demand for the material. And until there's a demand, the price is not there to make it economically feasible.
And as you can see, that here now we have almost total solids removal. It's very clear water. And from here it goes into our contact basin, which is where the chlorine, it's contacted with chlorine, goes down through there. It has to have a certain contact period where, you know, they give it the chlorine time to work and kill any pathogens that may be still in the water. And from there, it'll go over the weir of the contact basin, over to our dechlor basin where it's dechlorinated, and into the stream. Just pure water. It's all said and done.
What Denton is trying to do, and it's in the next step plans. Matter of fact, I saw recently that the City Council approved the capital budget for the first step of a materials recovery facility, where they'll build a facility out at the landfill. The trucks will collect all the solid waste from residences and businesses. It'll go to that landfill where it'll be separated there into recoverable components and non-recoverable components. And it's done in a centralized location, rather than having curbside at a diffuse system where every individual separates everything, bottles, glass, paper, plastic. They'll do it in a centralized facility. So that's about a couple of years away from being implemented in Denton.
A tremendous amount of long-term planning on it, and the cost of it right now, just for startup costs, is projected, I believe, at $4.2 million. If that happens, again, you're looking at an extensive facility that has to be designed and financed before we can get it really up and running. The recycling markets, unfortunately, are very, very low right now and have been for, we're looking at almost a year and a half that the markets have been really kind of down there. So it's kind of scary to think, can you put out that much money and will it pay for itself?
This is what we call our Dino Soil. We use our end product, the Dino Dirt, which is our compost, and the public can feel safe using it because it's a good product and it's a safe product, and or it doesn't go on the market.
I'm the first one to say I would love to see us out of business completely, but right now that's not happening. We need to, as a society, every individual, we need to reduce what we're buying in the sense of the individual single-pack plastic throwaway. We're a throwaway society. It's cheaper, and until it's not cheaper, or until we realize that we're throwing away the resources our grandchildren will need, we're here and we're open.
And so I'm optimistic that as time goes on, more and more citizens are going to participate and feel fundamentally that that's a way of life, is to have try to recover resources, try to recycle, try to reutilize recycled materials. So I think we're going to see a continuing dialogue about it. We're going to see, I think, more engagement of the public. So I'm optimistic that if we keep educating our kiddos about the values of doing those sorts of things and the values of our ecological natural systems, that people are going to shift into a more and more active role in that. So most of the time I'm optimistic. At other times when I go down the highway and I see all the litter, I sometimes have a problem saying, oh my gosh, are we making progress or not? But I think overall we are.